Many years ago, when Indonesia was still young, there lived a humble and loving lady who wanted very badly to have a child. She lived alone in a small home on the island of Java, which in those days was still full of magic. The island was home to a lush, vibrant jungle that tingled with life and melted into beaches of soft, warm sand that tumbled into a clear turquoise ocean. Here and there across the whole island, volcanoes grew out of the ground like special cones on the landscape. Some were tall enough to brush the clouds, but the people knew that all of them were magic. One morning, this lady sat by her home in the jungle and gazed up at one of these volcanoes. The warm sun was already playing on her skin. She could hear the sounds of the jungle gently sea cooning her in a tropical song. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. It filled her lungs with slightly salty air, like every morning she touched her heart and wished for a child. But this morning, as she sat quietly wishing for her deepest desire, she noticed the wind change. It danced and whistled across her face, ruffling her hair and brushing her eyelashes. Then a rustling sound grew closer and closer. The lady opened her eyes to see the green giant of the L, and standing above her, he seemed to be made of vines and plants and earth. He towered above her the size of a tree, but the lady knew not to be afraid. She took a deep breath and gently greeted him. The giant told her that he had heard her prayer and had come to give her a child. The lady couldn't believe it. Joy sprung up inside her and filled her body with a warm glow. She felt her heart fill with happiness. Then the giant held out a single golden cucumber seed. He told her to plant it, water it, and love it for days. And on the third day, a child would appear. He said that she may keep the child until its the birthday. But then it must be returned, for it will be a magical child, and he will need to train it to become like him. The lady was so grateful, so happy, and so excited. She took the seed and barely thought about what it might be like to give her child away one day. So the lady planted the seed. It immediately grew into a cucumber plant. She watered it every morning, loved it all day long with all her heart, and watched as it steadily grew a huge golden cucumber. Then, on the morning of the third day, the cucumber opened. Inside lay a beautiful baby girl. The lady scooped her up in her arms and named her to Ton M. In a glow of happiness, she carried Ton M into her home and began the beautiful work of becoming a mother one day. Nearly years later, Ton Ma sat outside her mother's home, looking up at the volcano. She had a wide open face and sleek, smooth hair. Her fingers dug slightly into the cool earth below her. She sighed lazily as the warm sun played across her face. Nothing could be more perfect than this then. In her slow, gentle way, her mother opened the door to their house. In her hand, she carried a small bundle. Ton Mas watched her come closer and noticed that her face, soft and lined, was etched with a quiet sadness. Her mother reached her and smiled a small smile. Timun Mas opened her lips to speak, but her mother hushed her. She told Timun Mas that the day had arrived for her to learn where she had come from. As her mother told the story of the giant, Timun Mas became aware of her breath. It was swirling in her body, calming and soothing. She felt no fear as she listened, and when her mother had finished, Timun Mas hugged her and felt her soft, buttery skin against hers. She was so grateful for the loving home she had given her. Then her mother held out the small bundle. Timun Mas took it tenderly in her hands. Inside were needles, cucumber seeds, and a pot of salt. Her mother explained that a wise elder of the island had given her these Tun Mas must use them to protect herself from the green giant. But when Tion Mas asked how to use them, her mother shook her head. It was only Tun M who could discover how they worked. As her mother left, Tion Mas gazed up at the volcano. It seemed to be calling her sweetly and softly. Without questioning Tun Mas, stood she knew in her heart that the answer she needed would lie at the top of it. That night Tun Mas climbed the volcano. She ran her hands through the jungle plants as she walked, feeling their waxy leaves between her fingers. The crunch of her footsteps kept her company. The frogs chirped and croaked, and the stars peeking through the night sky twinkled good wishes at her. When she reached the top, it was almost dawn. She gazed out at the view. The whole island spread out beneath her like a map here and there. Low wispy clouds hung over parts of it like puddles of milk. A tinge of peach-pink light was showing on the horizon too. En Masse held out her little bundle as the horizon started to glow brighter. The magic of the sight sent tingles through her body. Then the whips of cloud began to melt. They revealed a part of the island that Tion Mas had not seen before. Jungle did not cover it. It was simply a long, thin spit of land that extended into the ocean like an arm as the golden light of dawn hit her Tun Mas. Understood, she took a deep breath in, and let it fill her with strength. The magic of the stars above and the volcano beneath her began to seep into her. She closed her eyes, readying herself for what she needed to do. She noticed the wind change. It danced and whistled across her, her face ruffling her hair and brushing her eyelashes. Her time was now. She gracefully leaped from the volcano and found that she could half fly, half jump down its slope. She let out a delighted sigh. She carried on across the island, through the jungle, soaring through the warm air as gracefully as the orangutans she had seen swinging from the trees. The wind danced behind her, trying to catch her. A distant rustling followed her. It was the sound of the green giant, but she felt free and light. Each jump filled her with confidence, and soon she was at the spit of bare sand that extended into the ocean like an arm. As she reached the end of the spit, she turned to face where she had come from and scattered the needles and cucumber seeds around her in a great circle. As they touched the sand, the needles sprang into bamboo plants. The cucumber seeds swelled into the beginnings of lush vines trees and flowers as they grew around her. Tun Mas watched the green giant. He ran towards the spit of land, coming closer to her new circle of jungle. Then he reached the spit of land, his feet sinking into it as he ran faster for Timun Mas. But she took out the small pot of salt and in one movement threw it in a great arc out in front of her. When the salt touched the sand, it transformed into ocean, making Tion Mas's circle of jungle into a new island. The water flowed over the bare sand, sweeping the green giant of his feet, and as the ocean grew, it carried him away from Java and Tunem's new island. But he laughed as it took him, for he knew that Tun Mas had proved herself more magical than him. It was her time to guard this land. Tun Mas watched as the green giant left. She felt peace in her heart. Then she noticed a figure right across the new stretch of sea. It was her mother wading into the water and beginning to swim. Tun Mas hurried to the shore and watched as her mother emerged from the sea, her face full of love and happiness. They hugged a tender, warm hug, and Tion Mas took her mother into the newly grown jungle. She found the softest, sweetest patch of jungle leaves shaded by the quickly forming trees. Then they lay down side by side, their heads resting on soft pillows of moss. They each breathed a gentle sigh of happiness and felt their bodies relax. They felt the soft touch of the warm air and the relief of the shade on their skin. Timun Mas noticed how calm she had become. Her mother felt a warm and welcome sense of peace creep through her. Then together they drifted gently into a deep, tranquil sleep. And as they did, the jungle continued to grow around them, weaving wishes of happiness and well-being for the sleeping women inside. It all was well on Indonesia's newest island.